Have you ever gone on a vacation and somehow come home feeling like you need another vacation? You spend time, you spend your time going from one crowded place to another, eating at restaurants, shopping, taking pictures, and probably spending way too much time on your phone. Now imagine waking up and seeing mountains outside your window. You spend the day hiking, camping, fishing, or seeing wildlife, and at night you're sitting around a campfire looking up at the stars. This is Alaska. I know a little bit about Alaska because I was born in Anchorage, Alaska. I lived there until I was 8 years old. When I think about my childhood, I think about camping, hiking, exploring, and just being outside. Some of my best childhood memories happened because Alaska made being outdoors feel completely normal. So today I'm going to try and convince you to make Alaska your next vacation. I'm going to talk about why we need to get away from our normal routines, what Alaska has offer, and why a trip there could give you memories you will actually remember. Let's be honest, most of us spend a lot of time inside. We're at school, we're at work, we're in the car, we're on our phones, we're watching TV, or we're sitting in front of a computer. And that's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But sometimes you just need to get away. According to researchers Stephen Colt and Ginny Fay from the University of Alaska Institution of Social and Economic Research, more than 80% of surveyed visitors said Alaska's wilderness character and the opportunity to experience wildlife influenced their decisions to visit the state. And honestly, I get it. Alaska gives you something that is getting harder to find in everyday life. Space. There is mountains, forests, rivers, glaciers, lakes, and huge areas of wilderness. According to visitor researcher from the National Park Service at Dene National Park, people who visit the park are especially interested in experiencing the experiences like nature, solitude, wildlife, and adventure. And this is a pretty different from normal vacations where you might spend most of the time inside a hotel or walking around a crowded city. In Alaska, you can actually get outside and do something. You can hike, you can camp, you can fish, you can kayak, you can explore, and you can see wildlife in places where it actually lives. So the problem isn't that we don't have places to vacation. It is sometimes we forget what it feels like to actually get away. And that is where Alaska comes in. One of the best things about Alaska is that you can make your trip whatever you want it to be. If you're an outdoorsy type, you basically have unlimited options. You can hike mountains, camp, kayak, fish, explore glaciers, or take a wildlife tour. If you're really not an outdoorsy person, that is okay. You don't have to sleep in a tent in the middle of nowhere to enjoy Alaska. And that this is where I think Anchorage is especially cool. I was born in Anchorage, and one thing people sometimes forget is that Alaska isn't just wilderness. Anchorage is a real city. You can stay in a nice hotel, eat at really good restaurants, go shopping, visit museums, experience Alaska's native culture, go to concerts and other entertainment, and obviously do some serious souvenir shopping. You can have a nice dinner one night and be surrounded by mountains the next morning. You can basically have the best of both worlds. You can experience civilization when you want and drive a short distance and feel like you're completely surrounded by nature. And the outdoors experience aren't just something tourism said. Researcher Darcy DeGoom, Ginny Frey, Hannah Gartio, and Steve Colt from the University of Alaska study nature-based tourism in Southeast Alaska. Their research found that nature-based tourism generated about $277 million a year in direct business revenue in the communities they study. So when people visit Alaska, they're not just taking pictures and leaving, they're supporting local businesses, restaurants, hotels, tour companies, guides, and communities. Wildlife is a huge reason people visit. A 2022 peer-reviewed study published by PLOS1 by Tobias Schutzer and Natalie G. Darson found that nearly 300,000 bird watchers visit Alaska in 2016 and spent around 378 million supporting approximately 4,000 jobs. And that is just bird watchers. Alaska has so much wildlife to see. Depending on where you go, you can see moose, bears, whales, bald eagles, caribou, sea otters, and more. But honestly, the best part of Alaska isn't something you get from a statistic. It's the memories. I was a kid when I lived there, so I didn't appreciate Alaska for what it is now. But I remember being outside, I remember camping, I remember hiking, I remember exploring, and those are some things I can remember about being just about being a kid. So imagine this. You fly into Anchorage, you get settled into a nice hotel. Maybe you go out to a really good restaurant that night, walk around downtown. You buy some souvenirs because obviously you can't go to Alaska without buying something. The next morning, you wake up and see mountains outside your window. You grab food, get in the car, and start exploring. Maybe you go hiking. Maybe you see a moose. Maybe you see an eagle. Maybe you take a boat out to see whales, or maybe you find a quiet place and take in the scenery. That's what's cool about Alaska. You don't have to choose between a relaxing vacation and an adventure. You can have both. One day you're eating at a really nice restaurant in Anchorage, and the next day you're hiking through wilderness. At night, you can be sitting around a campfire with your family or friends, and years later, you're probably not going to remember every meal you ate or what hotel room you looked like. You're going to remember the mountains. You're going to remember seeing wildlife. You're going to remember the campfire. You're going to remember who you're spending it with. And this is the right way to experience wildlife. A study published by in the peer-reviewed Journal of Ecotourism by Ross Verl and her colleagues interviewed 43 visitors at the Dayton National Park and how close they wanted to get to wildlife. The researchers found that visitors had a different preference about how close they wanted to be, but the research also showed the importance of managing wildlife encounters responsibly. Basically, you can go get an incredible wildlife experience in Alaska without getting into animals' personal space. Because at the end of the day, you're visiting their home. And if you want to Alaska to stay this incredible for future generations, we have to respect it. We need to follow park rules, respect wildlife, take care of the environment, and respect the people and cultures that call Alaska home. Because the wilderness is the reason people want to go there in the first place. So, if you're planning your next vacation, give Alaska a chance. Don't automatically assume that Alaska means spending 2 weeks sleeping in a tent. It can be whatever kind of vacation you want it to be. Stay in Anchorage, eat at nice restaurants, go shopping, visit museums, experience the culture. Then go outside. Go hiking, see a glacier, go camping, take a wildlife tour. See something you'll probably only see in pictures or on a screen. And if you're traveling with friends and family, make a trip that you actually spend time together. Put your phones down for a while. Take in the scenery. Don't do something you've never done before. And most importantly, be a responsible visitor so that someone else can have the same experience years from now that you did. Today, I've talked about why sometimes we need to get away from our everyday routines, how Alaska gives you both incredible nature and real city experiences, and how a trip there can create memories that last. I know I'm probably a little biased because I was born in Anchorage, but that's also why Alaska means something to me. I got to spend the first 8 years of my life surrounded by a place where hiking, camping, exploring, and being outside just is just a normal part of growing up. And now that I'm older, I realize how lucky I was to have those experiences. So if you're looking for your next vacation, don't just think about where you can go, think about what you can do there. Maybe you want to adventure. Maybe you want to relax. Maybe you want good food, shopping, and entertainment. Maybe you want mountains, wildlife, camping, and hiking. In Alaska, you can have it all. So the next time someone asks you where you want to go to vacation, maybe don't pick the same beach you picked 5 times. Pick somewhere different. Pick somewhere unforgettable. Go to Alaska, explore the last frontier.